Hello, Thrivers. My name is Terry Stirk, and I'm excited to be here with you today. If we haven't met previously, I am a two-time survivor of triple negative breast cancer. I now serve women who have dealt with trauma, and breast cancer is included as well as other types of trauma. Um, but are you struggling to move forward or to break free from something that's holding you back? So let's break free together today. I will share some good news, and that is that breaking free from the grip of loneliness is under your control, and it is possible. So today we'll talk about breaking free from the grip of loneliness. And it's an important topic because we know that nearly half of adults report that they feel lonely regularly, even when surrounded by others. So our objective today is to understand loneliness, its roots, and how it impacts our lives, and why we should pay attention to it and get control. We'll also explore the role of longing and how it contributes to feelings of loneliness and isolation. We'll learn practical steps to reconnect and move forward. So first of all, what is loneliness? We know it's not the same thing as being alone. But loneliness is a state of emotional or social disconnection and isolation, regardless of whether you're physically alone or not. Often accompanied by feelings of emptiness, rejection, or longing. Loneliness is not about about how many people or how many friends you have or who lives in your house, but how connected are you? How connected do you feel to all those people and to yourself? I know there's been times in my life where I feel like a stranger, even though I'm with a group of friends. It's that feeling of being connected, feeling of not belonging, not being connected is hard. But it is a feeling, and it's an emotion, and something we can get through. Emotional effects of loneliness creates heightened feelings of sadness, anxiety, and hopelessness. It gives us self-doubt about our worthiness, and it can lead to a cycle of withdrawing further from others and creating even more disconnect. There are also physical effects of loneliness. Studies show that loneliness increases our cortisol levels, our stress hormone, which can also harm our physical health over time if we have increased stress with too much. It also links to higher risks of heart disease or a weakened immune system and even cognitive decline. Social effects of loneliness creates a barrier that makes forming or maintaining relationships hard, often leading to a sense of being trapped or stuck. Longing happens when we have unfulfilled expectations, which is very common We all go through feelings of longing. We expect our lives to be a certain way. Then it turns out completely different than what we imagined. We long for the past, a sense of nostalgia for a life that could have been. Perhaps it's about missing loved ones, mean, meaningful moments, good health, or maybe it's about stability. This longing often intensifies during periods of life transition, like when after an illness, when you're trying to heal, or after a loss, when we're sad and grieving. And it's very common during the holidays, which is why I'm discussing this subject now, because I know it impacts a lot of us. We also long for a future that seems out of our reach, desiring a life different from the current one, hoping for solutions to our problems, reconciled relationships, achievements, better health, or fulfillment that feels out of reach. Some things about our future are out of reach, things we will never have. But we still long for them, and that creates, or it can create, isolation and loneliness, keeping us stuck where we are unable to grow and move forward. Longing fuels loneliness because it keeps us focused on what's missing. It amplifies our feelings of inadequacy or disconnect and disappointment. Unfulfilled expectations are very hard. It can lead to a sense of paralysis, as if the past or future is unattainable, making it hard to engage with the present. So how do we break the cycle of loneliness? First, we need to recognize that loneliness and longing and see it for what it is. It is your current reality. So let's pay attention to it. Recognition matters. It matters because naming the emotion that you're feeling helps take away its power. If you're feeling lonely, recognize that and talk about it. Many people feel ashamed of their loneliness or their inadequacy to feel connected. They see it as a personal failure. Well, I'm here to tell you it's not a failure. It's a normal human experience. We all long for things that we can't have. There are practical steps where you can reflect on what you're longing for. Really pay attention to it. Feel those negative feelings. Is it a past experience that you can honor but not relive? Is it a future that's out of reach? Or are there steps you can take to create a different future than the one you imagined? As you're doing this reflection, write it down. Recognize those feelings. What am I missing? And how is that shaping my loneliness? it's important to recognize what's happening to you so then you can look for ways to feel better. So step 2 is to reach beyond the walls. So often when we're impacted by loneliness or we're longing for something that's we can't have right now or ever, reconnecting with the present instead of worrying about the past that we can't change and the future, which we often can't control. We can control very little about our future. The small actions can disrupt our isolation. So if we reconnect to the present, then we can start to tear down those walls of isolation and reconnect to ourselves, which helps us reconnect to other people. Start with a text message to someone you trust or someone you haven't talked to in a while. I just did that yesterday. There were a few girlfriends I hadn't seen, and so I texted to see who's available for coffee because I want to reconnect. Maybe in your work environment, you can make a friendly comment to a colleague or invite them to lunch. Anything you can do to connect to people. It can be someone where you're trying to reconnect an old relationship, or maybe it's someone you don't know very well, like a work colleague that you'd like to get to know. So building those connections will be very helpful for you to feel less lonely. Attending a social event is another way to reconnect to the present and reconnect to people that you haven't seen, even if it's a brief. Maybe you're avoiding talking to family members or friends because you know they don't understand what you're going through. Joining the social event helps you break through the barrier. Who knows? You may have a good time. Other ideas are volunteering. When we serve other people, it helps us feel useful and connected. Join a class or a group, a small group maybe. Pursuing an activity that you enjoy and that you have in common with others in the group, like a book club or fitness class or a creative workshop of some sort, where you can meet people with shared interests. Helps you connect again and live in the present moment instead of longing for the past or the future. You can also reframe longing. So ask yourself, what can I do today that brings me closer to what I'm longing for? For example, if you're missing out on a close relationship, take the first step to rekindle or to form a new one. At the holidays, you can create new traditions. I've had those feelings now since I have my son and daughter-in-law and granddaughter who don't live near me. I won't see them at Christmas. So again, it's an unfulfilled expectation of what Christmas would be like in my house. But I can help. I can let me start over. I can still have a good time. I can still have a good time. by creating new traditions. A third step in breaking the cycle of loneliness is anchor yourself in truth. So that means challenging those negative thoughts. Loneliness often breeds thoughts like, I'm not worth knowing, nobody understands, nobody cares about me. These are distortions, they're not facts. So practice self-compassion. Speak to yourself kindly as you would to a friend. Affirm your value. Make a list of things that you've accomplished, contributions you've made to help others or to help yourself, or kind acts you've done for others. These are reminders of your inherent worth and the positive impact you have on the world or in the world. Step 4 is to allow healing to begin. This is important because sometimes we're just sitting in that loneliness and the longing just hangs on and on and on. Or new things happen that trigger old feelings. So if we allow our healing to begin, then we can understand those triggers and understand the root causes. Loneliness often stems from unresolved emotions tied to grief, rejection, or other major life changes. Reflect on what might be at the heart of your feelings. If you're longing for the past, ask yourself what made that time special and how can you incorporate other things or similar connections into your current life or routines or adventures that help you feel better. Practice self-compassion. Healing takes time, so don't expect everything to turn around overnight, but allow yourself to feel sadness when it comes without any judgment. But take steps to move forward rather than staying stuck where you are. The fifth step is to find your place in community. Reconnecting with others helps you build connections in environments where you feel safe and supported. This could be through a local community center, your faith community, or other interest-based groups, or even online forums. Actually, connecting today by listening to this live, that is a connection to me and anyone else in the group. So build a support network. Create a circle of trust by investing time in those relationships that uplift you. If it's hard to find connection, consider therapy or coaching or support groups where you can share openly without judgment. The Thrive Not Just Survive group is one of those places. So moving forward after breaking the cycle, it's a journey out of loneliness. It doesn't happen step 1, step 2, step 3. What I've tried to do is just help you see how you can control and make things better in your life when you're feeling those disappointments that create longing and loneliness. They're natural feelings, but they're temporary experiences. They don't have to go on forever. You can honor your feelings about the past or dreams for the future while still engaging in meaningful connections in the present, we can feel grateful and sad at the same time. The journey out of loneliness starts with small, consistent steps forward toward connection. So, some practical steps you can do right now is to write down what you're longing for, what feelings it's bubbling are bubbling up in you, and how is it influencing your feelings of loneliness. Take some action. Identify one small step you can take this week and reach out to someone or join a new group or engage with an activity that excites you. Also, practice gratitude. Each day, write down 1 to 3 things that you're grateful for in this present moment. Gratitude shifts our focus from what's missing to what's meaningful in our present moment. So to end this video, I'll give you some prompts, and I'll put these at the end of the video as well. What is one thing you are longing for, and how can you start moving toward it today? Or if you can't move forward because it's impossible, then what else can you do to help not replace that, but maybe mimic the same sorts of feelings? What's one action you'll take this week to reconnect with someone or to meet someone new or engage in something meaningful? And remember, being alone is not the same thing as being lonely. Fill in the blank. What a lovely surprise to finally discover how blank being alone can be. That's what I have for you today. Have a wonderful evening. I'm cheering you on. Goodbye.